Handed, it would be counterclockwise, and it is a backhanded movement. Sidearm's awesome too, and we'll get to that. But backhand also leads into the slower version, putting, or upshots, or anything that really spins it as counterclockwise dominant, or clockwise, non-clockwise, whatever, you know what I'm saying. The backhand swing is natural for your whole body. You're not fighting any of your actual joints or rotation pieces. It's a little bit more smooth, like a dance move, and we're meant to do it. And so I just want you to think about the backhand topic helping every piece of the game, from putting to upshots to scramble to driving. And we will get into technique about the sidearm as well. Just because it's not a natural move, it doesn't mean you should not have it. You should. What's that?
What is scramble?
Oh, scramble! Man, when you are down in a place you don't want to make a shot, okay, I don't throw overhands, but sometimes. Scramble. Yeah. Okay, so Dustin and I like to promote, this is a personal thing. Throw 2 putters off of your very first practice tee box. The goal here is a flat, straight line, not distance and not torque. It's to check yourself to see where your wrist is naturally going to be. So we do those pretty quick. I'll go 1, we'll go 1, 2, and 2. So all I'm looking for is a nice, comfortable, flat, straight shot. On my first one, I noticed I just stood up on it. Somehow I let it go of it early, so as I let my partner go, and on my next one, I'll slow down and execute through. That first putter just told me that much about my body. I'm too excited right now.
Yeah, for putters, it's really, we just try to be as slow as possible. Like, you don't need any speed to make the putter go very slow. It's like a walking motion.
Beautiful. And again, putters are going to tell you everything about your mood that day as far as flat, stable, sure of yourself, dancing with a flat, straight line, anything. If your first couple of rips are coming out like this, you might be a little more aggressive in that day. If your first few rips are being turned over or understable, maybe your mood isn't so much that you're ready to be on the course. I mean, that's an emotional piece of the game, but get yourself flat, straight, and on the line so you're ready for your golf game. Feel better about that one. Stood up a little bit. Yeah. Okay, here we go. See how we feel. Nice. And Dustin worked that putter because he started a little bit more feeling like he was on his line and on his body, so he knew what he could do, the potential to get that putter ready for a drive. Now we have 2 out. How many people have heard the term 2 on 1 before you start your round? 2 shots on 1. It's a common thing. It's a great practice thing. All right, now I'd be like, hey buddy, you ready for a practice round? Yeah. Let's take 2 shots on the first one and then just play legit straight up from there on out. You can take your favorite one on the first hole. Why do we do that? 1, it's practice. Why not start with a better, I'd rather start with a birdie or a par than not. Okay, so give yourself the best start to your round. And then 2, again, we've done our disc golf strong warm up and we've been doing all these practice things previous to this, but this is my round, be it tournament or practice. I want the best results. 4 shots on the tee box to warm up, 2 putters, 2 drives. That sounds pretty good to me to get me ready for 50, 60, or 70 more shots out there. I don't need much more. Okay, so here we go. Dustin, for this backhand drive on this hole, knowing that the tee box, or that the basket's down in those trees, what are you going to throw, and how do you plan to throw it?
I am going to throw a truth, and this is a semi-stable truth to fight the headwind, and I will throw it really flat over the hill and let the gravity kind of fade it down towards the next one.
Okay, so as he lines up, the only reason why I asked him to tell you is because he planned a line for his disc. He only has one thought in his head to create one shot. Now what happens doesn't matter after that. We have one thought and one goal. We're going to let that one land. And Dustin, give me a 1 to 10. How do you feel about it? What would you adjust? Tell me about that shot.
It felt pretty good. I think the basket's more right than there.
Okay.
I'm not positive, but it was a little hyzer on release. But I would take that probably 9 out of 10 times.
Okay. So, my line I'm picking, I wanna go straight over the hill with maybe 1 or 2 feet of air between me and the ground, knowing that it stays low under that overhang. I noticed that the trees are a whole lot grabbier and bushier this year, and I know that off to the right there's OB in a ditch. I really want to hyzer into the hill and stay low. It's a lot of thoughts, so I'm just gonna pick my line when I get on the tee box and just shoot that line. What?
She's throwing a defender.
Oh, defender. Hey, thanks for asking, because it's part of the clinic. Even though I know right now this is too fast of a disc for me, I was going to talk about my second shot shape being a slower speed disc. I'm really glad you asked. Thank you. Okay, so here's the line. I've got a headwind. I'll account for that. Throw it a little more on hyzer because of that headwind. Stay on the line. I'm the best driver in the world. Oh no, I turned it over. I must have been a little bit afraid that disc had so much to handle. You know, I had too many thoughts in my head right before I threw that shot. How am I going to correct that? I'm going to get a disc that I trust. Let me preface that and pretend like I didn't know that disc quite as well and I was just giving it a shot. How many times have you guys walked up to a tee box and been like, I think this one will do it, and so I'm going to try this. Okay? Well, let's pretend like that was what was just going on. Now I was hoping actually that would have hyzered a little bit more. That's okay that it didn't though. We're going to go through our second shots each. Dustin's going to make one adjustment, picking probably the same line. I'm going to make a huge adjustment by picking a different disc, trusting it. And then I'll tell you why actually. I'm going to wait till it's my shot. So when we watch Dustin's form, everybody watch the upper body. Stay away from the lower body, and I want you to try and envision a table or a deck that he's pulling across. Everybody please watch the upper body and the chest. Okay? We're looking for that flat, straight fall.
This option, I have a felon, which is like a overstable, fast fairway driver. And for this disc to get there, I'm going to need to throw it pretty low with maybe a touch of hyzer and kind of ride the shape of the tree line and just come in front of the trees. So, based on not that shot shape, if I want to work it slightly right to left, I'm going to come at it from the right side of the tee pad to the right side to force my hyzer line. And I just think about lining it up here when I'm standing it, just like feeling and seeing the line that I just talked about with Zoe, and then envisioning as I'm doing my whole thing, I'm just thinking holding this flat to the earth. If the disc is ever off the line, it's going to come out bad. If I can just hold it flat to the plane of the earth that I'm throwing on, it should execute my line in my head.
Hopefully, this guy's arm speed is really fast. Arm speed / hit speed is what that really is. Hopefully we had a chance to watch him bring it backward on the deck or the plane and forward on the deck of the plane. I would venture to say 80 to 90% of you may start your run up, whether you be right-handed or left-handed, and once you reach back, there's a complete drop or dip, and then we try to come flat across our body. Let's eliminate any crazy extra floppy or extra movement and just bring back on the table and forward on the table. Okay, so that was one reason why I just asked everybody to look at Dustin's drive. I'm going to do one last drive, then I'm actually going to let Seth talk while we go grab our discs a little bit about kind of the power and the stance and where it comes from, or what kind of a thing we can do to build muscle for the backhand drive. On this one, I'm choosing to throw a St. Pro. It's a little bit slower speed. It's a lot more controlled than a Defender. A Defender has a lot of right to left, and this is, well, you know, it's a slower speed. So again, we have a little less overstability or understability here. Picking my line, I'm going to line my body up and run straight up towards where I believe the basket is. I'm going to give this a click of hyzer if everything is perfect and watch it flip up to flat. If that doesn't happen, that's okay. I have more of these, and that's the right line. Those are my expectations for my shot, and I shared those just as I was like the commentary for my head, because I'd appreciate if you guys picked up kind of the pre-thought before the shot for everyone. Because if something else is going on, we're not really talking about driving or disc golf. One thought, one shot. Pick it, know your expectations. I'll try not to talk while I do this. And that was a little bit swoopy, but it's gonna work. Alright, so as we go get those, Seth, would you come on down to this tee box or to a place where you have good, solid athletic footing? And I believe that most of our driving action comes from our lower body and our core. Our hand is simply holding the disc, and our body is like the slingshot device to throw the disc. So right now, I believe Seth has one or possibly two things that we can strengthen or work on, and then we'll meet you back to the putting green.
Cool.
All right, here we go.
Awesome. All right, so real quick, so going kind of back to the warm-up and also doing fitness and stuff for disc golf. Does anyone know, can anyone guess the injury rate in disc golf?
28%.
28%, 75%, 50%. There, according to the University of Arizona study on the sport, they estimate stabilize. So I'm getting power from the back leg. Okay, that's where we get our power from this back hip. But then when I come through here, I need to be able to stop. And I was working with a golfer in GBO, and she realized she was doing this with her hip. So that power she was generating was now energy leaking out of her hip. So starting to implement some of those, okay? So here, and just stop. And try to think about where's that hip going. The second one is you can do this on a tree, practice basket, whatever. One of my favorite core exercises is just here, taking your hands, you can do this at home, corner of a wall, and just press into the wall with both hands, and my abs are immediately turning on, okay? I can feel that. That's core strength right there. So when I'm coming through, I want my abs to go locked down so that all that power I'm coming from here can go through this tight core, because if everything's all loose, that's not how we generate power, that's how we lose power, is by getting that core strength. So here, and then going the other side. Here, pressing into the wall, into the tree, whatever it is, and it's going to want to pull me that way, but everything in my core is going to have to turn on. So starting to add those two into your routine are huge. 5 to 10 reps each side. Doesn't have to take a lot of time. 1 to 3 rounds. You'll start to notice some big differences just by getting that stability in your hip, that power off that back leg, and that core strength.
And to wrap that up, I forgot to give you the biggest gaining distance tip of the whole day. There's a loud flying object coming overhead. I can be louder. Does anybody here like to dance? Don't be shy. Well, if you don't like to dance, it's going to be harder for you, so maybe you'll develop it. But to drive further, every single one of you need to work on a dramatic set of follow-through kicks. Okay. But that didn't look very good. That would be the non-liking of the dancing person. The reason why I'm telling you this is because I've been throwing a lot of left hand lately, trying to save strokes on my right wrist. And when I come through, the only time I have a shot that impresses me is when I have like a huge high kick. It's hard to even do that in slow motion. I have a really big high kick, even though it's slow. That's my left-handed side. Well, I realized going in over some footage on my right-handed side, sometimes I throw and even pull my arm back. Sometimes I throw and my left side doesn't really do much. But man, when I hit 400 feet, my left side is going so fast. I'm like, my neck is like pulling to see the shot. So, if any of you want to gain distance on your drive, you better get the other side dramatically kicking and dancing through. Ice skating, watching that's motivating. Dance party movements, that's motivating. But really, just get that other side of the body dramatically following through. The more athletic and dramatic you look, distance will blow your mind. Let's head to the putting green. We'll wait for Seth. Seth, we still need Seth. Sorry, Shorty. I don't mean to interrupt, but we're gonna give it 10 more minutes because we just talked about the long part of the game, and I believe you could take a lot of that information into the short part of your game. I hope that you can use the visualization of the pull back, the follow through, the dance kicks, and certainly building up some muscles to make all those things more athletic and possible for you. But now let's move on to putting. Dustin and I are only going to show a couple of straddle putts, which means your feet are pretty much even. They might be just an inch or so separate, but that's okay. What we're talking about is right to left, we're balanced in an athletic stance versus a track stance, straddle or athletic stance. That's our first kind of putt. Everyone needs to have one of these, whether it's your backup putt or your dominant putt. Reason why: rocks, trees, any object that might be between you and the basket, hills, you know, uphills, downhills. You're gonna want this athletic stance. So what do we do for both styles of putts? We practice from 15 feet to 33 feet, 33 feet being your 10-meter circle. We practice at each step away. So from 5 steps to 10 steps is about our distance of 15 to 33 feet. Okay, we practice those like crazy. Dustin, actually, go ahead and just start putting a couple of them. I'll put a couple of my putters. So just really quick from the ground up, watching Dustin's body, and I'll try not to be in the way. We have our feet parallel. We have our bottom and our knees. Our bottom is actually just like in the warm-up, reaching for the wall behind us that doesn't exist. Okay, our bottom's going backward versus our waist's bending. We never want to bend at the waist. We want our bottom to go backward. And what did that just do? It made my legs powerful and springy. And all I have to do is put a disc in my hand and let this pendulum swing straight to the basket. So Dustin, go ahead and give us putt number 1 and putt number 2. Focus on his legs, please.
Right now I'm really putting a lot of my weight on my heels. And then as I come down, they're all on the heels, and then as I come up is when I shift my weight to my toes. Because you still want the same kind of weight transfer as this, but it's a much smaller motion with just a heel and a foot. So that's how you weight transfer in a straddle.
And I'd say he's about 12 to 15 feet away right now, so I'm gonna ask him just to take 1 step back every time on these 4 putts. First 2, watch his lower body, please, if you can. It's hard to not watch the actual putter. Good job. Take a step back. Again, watch that lower body, what's going on. Feet or knees or bottom, take a little bit of a step back, that's probably good. Now you can look at the middle if you want, or you can look at the arm swing. I'd say all 4 on the lower body is better, but oh, sorry, I'm talking while you're putting there, partner. That's all right. Okay, so I'm gonna let Seth talk a little bit about that base, but one last thing that you guys need to know is anytime we have to be off of that perfect center stance, because this is gonna happen. Okay, there is gonna be really off-centered, uncomfortable times. Well, great. The one thing you need to do once you get into those really uncomfortable times is find where your bottom and your knees are and make sure you can get kind of springy or athletic. Can you transfer from heel to toe? Okay, because that's how we're gonna be the most stable, safe, and then forget about everything else to make a putt. 1 thought, 1 shot. Seth is gonna give us a little bit on those. In the background, I'm gonna let Dustin and myself putt just a couple of short putts. We're gonna try to dramatize our form.
So, thank you, Carrie. I just borrowed Carrie's bag. So one thing you can do is, you need to have good mobility in your hips so that you can even get down there, because if you're fighting some mobility restrictions as you come down and you stop to here, you're not gonna be able to go any farther. But a big thing is that I've had people where they go here and they go, I can't get any farther, I don't have any more mobility. And then I give them something to hold and they go like that, okay? Why is that? It's not because they had no mobility, it's because their body didn't feel like it was stable enough once it got below this point. So it goes, I'm gonna lock you up. I'm not gonna let you get down farther than that, okay? But then they hold on to something and they can drop all the way down because now their body feels stable. So even if you just take a bag, okay, put a few discs in there, you can hold it here in front of you and just practice that squat up and down. That's gonna start helping you become more stable, and you'll notice you'll be able to squat deeper, okay? And then you can go a few less discs, a few less discs, until you're going nothing to be able to squat down. So it's not necessarily always a mobility issue, it's a stability. It's a stability in your core and all that. And by adding in a bag with some weight in there, you'll find that you can start to get your body used to that movement.
100%. I hope you guys watch that, because I actually told Seth when we started working together that I cannot, Seth, do a real squat. Well, what do you mean you can't? And so then comes in the balance and the lack of stability versus mobility. I now believe, last year if you would have asked me, I just said I was the least flexible person you've ever talked to. Now I realize I'm missing strength. I have a good amount, but I'm pretty dang flexible, and I would have said that before in my life. So if you guys can really keep that backpack drill in mind, it's gonna help your whole game. And I'm gonna wrap it up quickly with my track stance putt. Again, if I had like a heavy pendulum hanging from the middle of me, I'm not forward and I'm not backward. When I am first prepping for my track putt, I'm springy at my knees and I'm perfectly in the middle. Now, the arm swing is from down to up when we're pushing. So of course we're gonna have to rock the weight from back, knees bend up, and straight into forward. Okay, this is like driving a stick shift where we ease out of the clutch and into the gas. And if you don't drive a stick shift, this is what we call a really proper push putt dance movement. Okay, it is smooth and it is transferred. It's not simultaneous, because that would be weird. Okay, that would be really weird. This is a smooth transfer. And once we get smoother and smoother, then we can get faster and faster. Watch my partner in the background. I think a lot of people think that this stuff is simultaneous, and I won't ever get anything from here all the way down to here power-wise if I go at the same time. My feet rock my weight and absolutely push my arm and all of that strength out of my hand, spinning the disc as far forward as possible. And the more I can use the ground and my weight in my middle, the faster the disc will spin. Oh yeah. Now we're talking about a powerful push putt. A lot of push putts are pretty weak. Well, let's just use the ground in our body to make them happen. And oh yeah, never do we have a variance of a swing right to left. It's just forward, straight forward. Notice something about my putts. I'm not saying they're the only putts. We're really not working on any other arm swings. Tricky stuff, okay, that's for another clinic or another time. Spin putts are a very important part of the game. I'm trying to give you the best tips for your tournament tomorrow. Your arm swing is the best arm swing that you have. Make sure you're always practicing it with both stances. Nothing simultaneous.
Yeah, I'll jump in real quick.
Sorry.
No. One good thing is your brain and your body's goal is not to throw a disc. It's not to putt. Okay? That's not its number one goal. Its number one goal is to keep you stable and safe and injury-free. Okay, so if you are doing a movement and your body does not feel like it's going to be able to stabilize on one leg, that's its priority. So it might mess you up where you're not going to have the ability to focus on doing what you want to do, because your brain's goal is to keep you stable and your hip not pop out while you're trying to stand on one leg. So if you add in kind of like what Zoe was talking about earlier, like we call this a hip hinge, okay? So we're hinging at the hips. This is where we do like deadlifts and stuff like that. If I'm here, I'm hinging at this hip. So if you can come here and I step back, and then I want you to come forward into a single leg stance. Step back, got that third eye pointed forward, okay? And then I'm pushing this heel down into the ground to stand up. Back, up, okay? Because now I'm training that. What you do during this time, okay, is going to transfer over to what you're doing when you're putting, and now your brain's not going to have to worry about it, because you are bringing in more variability in your training, okay? More chances to fail and get better, so that you're not trying to fail and get better while you're also trying to putt. Okay, so doing that on both sides, stepping back, that third eye's pointed forward, I'm driving this heel on the ground, come into a single leg balance. Hold for like 2 to 4 seconds.
And if you guys find yourself doing that drill a little wobbling, you know you need that drill, okay? I would recommend doing it a couple inches off of a wall and pretending like your goal is to be as stable as the wall while you do it, and you will see like, whoa, my hips or my shoulders or something, there's all this variance. Well, in your putting stroke, we're trying to get rid of any of that, so those are great workouts. I think that the dubs is getting closer to starting. I'd love to open it for like 1 or 2 questions if you have it. Other than that, thanks for a really awesome clinic. Oh, over here.
So how do you adjust when you're doing a putt? Adjust when you're closer or super far away?
Okay, great question. And deeper into my legs being engaged. Would you agree with that?
Yes, kind of the farther you get away from the basket, the more you have to involve your legs.
Yeah.
So if you're up here close and you're really involving your legs, you might hit it higher because you
Be
just
too
have too much
powerful.
power. So when I'm really close, it's more kind of just stare at your line and get it in any way you can, really. And then as you get farther back, you implement more down to up, and it's all the timing of the farther you go away, the more you drop, and then the more you have to push and launch yourself towards it once you get outside the circle.
Both pro men and women, well, you can find footage of them kind of at a tap out range. And you'll just kind of see them doing like the last 90% of their putt with the leg up and just kind of, because that leg comes up to that counterbalance in our real putt, but they're so close they put their mini down. They're just like, last piece of the putt. So really it's the most minimal version when you're close and a more slender stance. That way you can't overthrow it or angry. If I was this close and I was kind of angry about getting a bogey or something, oh boy, you might just throw it a little too hard at the close basket.
Now, one thing we both make sure to never do is really change our putt depending on how much power. It's just adding more momentum, more leg spring to get distance, not necessarily switching the way we throw or the way we grip or anything like that.